Would you like $700 for free? Yeah? How about another $700 next month? And the month after that? And the month after that? Every month, I'm just going to give you $700. This is what I recently told a friend who told me that he has $200,000 sitting in a checking account, which earns 0 interest. With 1 hour of work, he can get that money in a high-yield savings account, which pays something like 4.25% annually right now, earning $700 a month in free interest. Literally for doing nothing except having the money sit there. Now I know having $200,000 sitting around is not a very common problem, but even with only a $5,000 balance, that's $20 a month. Many people might be daunted by the idea of opening a new bank account. These online-only banks, how do you write checks? How do you use an ATM? I'm here to explain to you that there are practically 0 inconveniences you have to deal with to open a high-yield savings account. It's so easy, and I'm going to explain how to do it. Even if it's only a few dollars in interest you earn each month, it's money for nothing. If you happen to stumble across a $20 bill on the street once each month, would you be happy and just pick it up? Yes? Well, then do the same thing here. You might say, sure, my checking account at my local bank doesn't give high interest, but having the physical branch is a convenience I need. Here's an example of the way that someone might use a checking account at their local bank. And even though it doesn't pay much interest, it provides a lot of conveniences in the way they manage their money. When they earn their paycheck, it's deposited right into their checking account, either by direct deposit or by signing a check and handing it to the teller. Anytime you get cash, you can walk into the bank and deposit it. When someone writes you a check, same thing. You can walk up to a person, you can talk to them at the bank, fill out a deposit slip. You can write physical checks. You can get money in person. You can exchange coins in person. You can get ATM withdrawals. Your debit card is hooked up to your checking account, which is how you do most of your daily purchases. Or maybe your credit card has an auto payment feature, which is paid from your checking account. And you ask yourself, sure, it would be nice if I earned more interest, but replacing all of this functionality with an online-only savings account seems really cumbersome. You don't have to do any of that. When you open a high-yield online savings account, I personally use Ally Bank, but there's plenty others. It's incredibly easy. When you first set it up, you enable transfers between that high yield savings account and your primary checking account. So you're still going to use your primary checking account as your slush fund. For some people, that may mean keeping a couple $100 in there. For some people, it may mean keeping a couple $1,000 in there. That buffer fund that ensures they can always pay their credit card bill, always have some money to pull out of the ATM. But any money above that buffer amount, like my friend with this $200,000 he's saving for a down payment, you move it all into your high yield savings account. And if you ever need that money, you simply move it back to your primary checking account, from which you can get it from an ATM. I don't know why I have ATM withdrawals on here twice. You can write checks against this account. So you're not replacing your primary checking account with a high yield savings account. You're adding the high yield savings account. And there's very convenient ways, which I'll show you in a minute, to move your money to and from your high yield savings account. So even though it's an internet only bank with no physical branches and no tellers you can talk to, it doesn't matter. The whole purpose of this is a place to sit your money and earn you a lot of money in interest while your cash sits there. I know personal finances are very personal, but I'm going to share my example of how I use it. I keep $3,000 or $4,000 in my primary checking account. It's probably more than I need to, but I really don't ever want to be bothered or worried that, for example, when my credit card bill is automatically paid, that I'm not going to have enough money in this account. So I make sure I've got more than enough money in there. And once every month or two, I'll check on my account, and if the balance has gotten up to, say, $6,000, I'll just make a transfer to my high yield savings account, move $2,000 over, keeping $4,000 in my checking account. And vice versa. If my checking account, if I ever have an extra big credit card bill one month, or need to write a check or get some cash out to buy a car, I'll do the reverse. I'll simply transfer the amount of money I need out of my high yield savings account into my primary checking account. Look how easy this is on Ally's website. Okay, I've just logged on to my Ally savings account. I go to transfers, bank transfers. Of course, you can also transfer money by wire or Zelle. I select to transfer from my Ally savings account to my checking account, which is at a different institution, but it's saved in here once I set it up. I want to transfer $3,000, one-time transfer, delivery on tomorrow. One-day ACH transfers. Review transfer, submit this transfer. One business day, boom. So by tomorrow afternoon, that money will have moved from my high yield savings account to my primary checking account. I can pull it out of my ATM just like normal. I can write a check against it, pay my credit card bills, all without having to change any of the complicated things I've set up with my normal checking account. Once you have the account, you'll find that you can do things like actually deposit checks to your high yield savings account. They have a nice mobile app, but the key is you don't have to. If concern about the complicated transition to a high yield savings account is what's keeping you from doing it and earning free money, don't worry about it. You can figure out all that stuff later if you want to once you have the account set up. You don't have to do any of it. Just keep using your checking account the normal way and just keep a buffer level of money in your checking account. So as of right now, Ally Bank is offering 4.25 annual percent. Just to help you get that, I want to show you how much interest you'll get just for storing that much money in an Ally account. If you have $2,000, that's $7 a month. $5,000, $18 a month. If you're like my friend and you have $200,000 sitting around in a checking account earning nothing, if you move that over to this account, he'll earn $700 a month just for having it sit there. Now, maybe you've heard someone say, yeah, but savings accounts only just barely keep up with inflation. Is that a reason to not move your money to a high yield savings account? No. So far, I've argued that moving your money from a checking account that returns zero interest to a high yield savings account, which earns my friend $700 a month, is like getting a free $700. But even if that 4.25% interest is only just keeping up with inflation, it's still keeping you from losing $700 a month. It's like if you keep your money in a checking account that earns 0% interest, it's like a robber's coming into your house and stealing $700 of your purchasing power every single month. Next month, robber comes in, steals $700. Next month, robber comes in, steals another $700. By moving that to a high yield savings account, you're stopping that robber from stealing $700 a month. So you're still moving from negative $700 to zero. So either way you think about it, whether you're taking inflation into account or not, moving from a checking account to a high yield savings account still is netting you $700 a month for extremely low effort and low inconvenience.